Imagine old Tucson, Arizona territory, back in 1878. The dusty streets, the massive Santa Catalina Mountains tower just north of the town. The rider coming into town just spent 10 years scouting for the United States Army alongside Buffalo Bill Cody. Within 20 years, he will run one of the largest freighting operations in the territory, haul silver bullion through bandit country without ever losing a shipment, and build the finest resort hotel in Arizona. This is the true story of Annie and Curly Neal, and of why their names were nearly erased. He was born in 1849 in Tahlequah in the Cherokee Nation, of Cherokee and Black parentage. His mother had survived the Trail of Tears. His people named him Sitting Bear. The world came to know him as William Curly Neal. He was orphaned at 7 and grew up doing whatever work the frontier offered a boy alone. At about 19, he met William F. Cody at a Tucson rail depot, the man America would soon know as Buffalo Bill. The two took to each other immediately. They rode out of Tucson side by side that day. They fought through 10 years of the Indian Wars. Curly carried arrow wounds and a bullet graze across the top of his head to show for it. It was a friendship that endured for life. This photograph is real. It survives today. So does nearly every fact in this story, in newspapers, county records, and the registers of the hotel he had not yet built. In 1878, Curly Neal returned to Tucson and hung up his guns. He took a cook's job at a restaurant called Maison d'Arcy on Congress Street. He dug graves on the side, and within a year, he had his own livery. By 1885, he had built it into an empire. Mammoth freight wagons drawn by 20-horse teams supplying the mines of the San Pedro Valley, a stage line, 10,000 head of cattle on the 3N Ranch, and a contract with the United States Postal Service that he would hold for 42 years. When the cargo was gold or silver, Curly often drove the wagon himself. He built hidden compartments into the wagon beds and carved a strongbox into a wagon tongue, and he ran a different route every trip: Oracle, Reddington, Benson, back to Tucson. In all those years, through a country thick with road agents, he never lost an ounce. 1 year after Curly rode into Tucson, a wagon train arrived from the Indian Territory of Oklahoma. On it was a 9-year-old girl named Annie Box. Her mother, Hannah, and father, Wiley, carried Cherokee, Black, English, and German bloodlines, and they settled among the very first Black families in Tucson. This is Annie. The record of her life reads like fiction, but it's true. The wagon journey stayed with her. As a teenager, she composed a piece of music called Oklahoma March, inspired by that crossing, and copies of it sold out of a Congress Street music shop. By 20, she stood 6 feet tall. She was a devout Catholic, and she had become one of the finest sharpshooters in the Arizona Territory. The story folks told for decades was that she outshot Buffalo Bill Cody at his own game, and that it happened more than once. So it only made sense that on the bullion runs through bandit country, the guard riding beside Curly Neal was very often his wife. Curly and Annie married in 1892. As a wedding gift, Annie's mother deeded her 2 silver mines and $300, and Annie signed the deed Mrs. Annie Neal several days before the wedding occurred. Curly had earlier purchased 160 acres in a little settlement known as Oracle, half a day's ride up onto the mountain. There were only a handful of people living there at the time. It had good water, and because it was situated more than half a mile higher in elevation than Tucson, it had a much nicer climate. This is where the Neals built Annie's masterpiece, the Mountain View Hotel. It opened in February of 1895 at a cost of $90,000. It was among the first luxury resorts in the Arizona Territory, designed by Annie, financed by their freight fortune, owned and operated by a Black and Cherokee couple in the 19th century. 12 large rooms with 10-foot ceilings, gold and black marble fireplaces, hot and cold running water, and indoor plumbing. In the high desert, in the middle of nowhere, in 1895. An orchestra played at the grand opening, the register filled with names from around the world. Italian countesses, Russian princes, mining magnates, and travelers from 45 states. The kitchen served hot meals at any hour. Annie ran a private school inside the hotel for the guests' children, and the story goes that she recruited its teachers straight off the eastbound trains. Oracle had no church in those years, so once a month, every month, Annie brought a Catholic priest and 2 sisters up from Tucson and held Mass in the hotel's second-floor music room. She was also a licensed midwife, with the church's own written authorization to baptize the babies she delivered. The Tucson papers called her the Queen of the Hostesses. In the early 1900s, Buffalo Bill Cody himself came to Oracle, the most famous entertainer in the world, investing a fortune in the gold and tungsten mines at Campo Bonito. Tungsten from those workings went into Thomas Edison's electric lamp filaments. 2 old scouts, 30 years past the trail, together again on Annie's porch. At Christmas in 1912, Cody put on a Santa Claus suit at the Mountain View and handed out gifts, speaking Sioux to the children of performers who had toured the world with his Wild West show. So why have you never heard of Annie and Curly Neal? Because the country changed around them. By 1908, the same Tucson newspapers that had celebrated the Neals were printing Curly's name with a slur attached. The fashionable guests drifted away, not because the hotel declined, but because the welcome extended to people like the Neals declined. Curly died in 1936. As the story goes, he and his grandson Ed were working on a truck out front of the hotel. Curly was in front, hand cranking the engine while Ed was at the wheel. The truck suddenly lurched forward and struck Curly. Annie was at his side before he could speak. Dr. Cody Marsh drove him to St. Mary's Hospital in Tucson, and there, that same day, William Curly Neal closed his eyes for the last time. The next August, Annie did one last bit of business. She handed the 3N Ranch, every acre of it, with 100 head of cattle, to Herbert Boyer. Boyer had been the foreman of the ranch since the month of Curly and Annie's wedding. A $10 token payment, a handshake, and a thank you were all it took. For 13 years after Curly passed, Annie kept the Mountain View open. The countesses and princesses didn't come anymore, but Annie kept the linens clean and the table set. On the 12th of May, 1950, Annie Box Neal died at the age of 80. The Florence Blade Tribune carried the news. 2 old miners, guests Annie had let stay on long after she could afford to, were the only people in the hotel that day. The history books kept Buffalo Bill, but let one of his closest frontier partners, and the woman who outshot him, fall out of the story. But the building refused to disappear. The Mountain View Hotel still stands in Oracle, Arizona, 130 years on. Time hasn't affected the sturdy, 2-foot-thick adobe walls much. The original furnishings are gone, but the inside still looks very much the same as it did in 1895. An organization, the Mountain View Fellowship of Oracle, has been formed, and a restoration effort has been initiated to save it and to put the names Annie and Curly Neal back where they belong, beside the famous men they outbuilt, outrode, and outshot. The photographs in this film are real. The people were real. Modern technology was used to create some of the scenes, helping illustrate this amazing story. History doesn't explain everything. It just asks to be remembered. If you're interested in this story and want to follow the restoration as it progresses, visit the Mountain View Fellowship's website at mfoo.org. The Mountain View Hotel, Oracle, Arizona. Now you know their name.